doctor and natural food chef from Japan, Kyoto, who has a passion for both good food and nutrition. She loves making healthy food taste delicious. She graduated from culinary school at the Natural Gourmet Institute in New York City. Afterwards, she worked at 5 places, including Rouge Tomate, a 1 Michelin star healthy and sustainable restaurant. She worked at Pure Food and Wine, a raw, organic, and vegan restaurant. Her work in preventative medicine has led her to research the relationship between fermentation and intestinal health and health in general. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Yuka Seiki to talk to us about her work.
Thank you for coming today. It has been more than 11 years since I became a medical doctor, but after I finished intensive, I haven't used medicine. I use food as medicine because I had a dysfunction of hormonal system for more than 15 years. And I needed to take medicine for a long time. So that's why I didn't want to take medicine for me and for my patient. But when I was a medical student, I was very curious that why people get disease. So many people are suffering from disease. But Western medicine couldn't give me the answer. So that's why I study about alternative medicine such as Ayurveda is old Indian medicine and nutrition. And now I totally overcame my disease because I changed my diet based on fermented Japanese food. So I forgot this right. That's okay. So yeah, and also when I was a medical student, I really like cooking. Yeah. And I wondered whether I would be a medical doctor or a chef, and I couldn't give up my dreams. So after I became a medical doctor, I quit my job once in 2013, and I went to New York to study culinary, so cooking. And I graduated from culinary school, and after that I worked at 5 restaurants in New York City, and I could learn how to make healthy and nutritional food in New York City. And also during my studies in New York City, I had a chance. Yeah, this is my So after I came back to Japan, I combined the knowledge of medicine and the skill of cooking, and I became a medical chef. I made it by myself. Yeah. And I published my recipe books in Japan, only in Japanese. And yeah, yeah, I should do that. So, and I have many workshops, cooking classes in Japan. And during my studies in New York City, I had a chance to attend the workshop to make homemade miso. And then I rediscovered the power of miso in New York City. And after I came back to Japan, I started to study about miso. And now I call myself Doctor Miso. Yeah. So yeah, I really like miso because miso is not only probiotics but also a superfood in Japan. Yeah. Because miso contains a lot of nutrients like minerals, magnesium, zinc, and iron, and vitamins. So lots of vitamins B's and vitamin E, K, and also it contains fibers and oils and amino acid. Yeah, and because of fermentation, it contains enzymes. So that's why it's really It really helps to digest food from us. And after the fermentation, it contains melanoidin. It is one of the antioxidants in miso, so that's why miso is very healthy and superfood, I think. Yeah. And I want to talk about this later with catering. But each prefecture has different kinds of miso. And I brought 2 kinds of miso today with me, and it is Hacho miso and Shinshu miso. And northern part of Japan, people prefer more red color of miso. I want to talk about miso a little bit. So the classification of miso by colors and the types of rice, fermented rice. So we use usually rice and barley and beans as fermented for the fermentation. And so by the color, so miso divided into 3 groups. One of them is red and white and black. And so by the grains, so we have rice miso and barley miso and beans miso. It is called Hacho miso. So Hacho miso is very unique miso, and it's just 2 ingredients, so fermented beans and salt, and it takes 2 years for fermentation. So in only central part of Japan, so Nagoya and Chukai area, so they make Hacho miso. And northern part of Japan, they prefer more dark red miso. I was born in Sendai, so that's why I really like Sendai miso. And it is very salty, so it contains 12% of salt, and it takes more than 1 year for fermentation. And the central part of Japan, so they prefer more white, red miso and more mellow taste. So it contains 8 to 10% of salt. And more southern part of Japan, they prefer white and very sweet miso. It takes just 1 month for fermentation, and it contains more rice, so that's why the taste is so sweet. So, and Kyushu area, so they use fermented barley for miso. So, and they prefer barley miso in Kyushu area. So there are lots of miso in Japan. So, and I visited more than 50 miso companies in Japan, all over Japan, and I like these kinds of traditional way to make miso. So they use wooden boilers. So it's good for bacteria to grow up in a natural temperature, and yeah, I really like this way. But nowadays, most of companies use this type of plastic container, so because it had to maintain the wooden butter. So yeah, what I introduced on my website, so that I introduced good companies with quality of miso on my website. So this is my another job. Yeah. So I want to talk about 5 reasons why I recommend people to eat more miso as a medical doctor. So first, so it helps our digestive function. So miso contains natural probiotics, as I said, and it helps our digestive system. So because evidence suggests that good bacteria in our guts support our digestive system and can reduce uncomfortable symptoms like diarrhea or constipations. Yeah. And second, so miso boosts our immune system. Nowadays, many people are interested in our gut health. And bacteria that live in our our guts have a significant impact on our immune system. So due to their high probiotics content, miso can give our immune system a boost and reduce the risk of infection like common disease, a common cold. So yeah, it is very useful. And third, so as I said miso contains a lot of nutrients, so minerals and vitamins and antioxidants as well. So and fourth, I use miso instead of salt. So because it is a kind of tasty all-purpose seasoning. So people worry that miso contains a lot of sodium, but it's not true because if you use miso instead of salt, you can reduce sodium. Because miso has just 12% of salt, but versus 99% of salt in table salt. So that's why I use miso for my recipes. So I don't use salt. So, and the last part is number 5 is sustainability. So I want to protect the traditional Japanese food, because nowadays it's hard to find traditional miso even if I live in Japan. So, and I want to protect the traditional way. So, and also I want to protect our health by ourselves, because if we change our diets, you can prevent your body from disease. So yeah, these are main purpose which I recommend people to eat more miso. Yeah.
Wow, I just learned a lot. So I wanted to ask both of you a few questions.